Good morning, children. Welcome to economics class. See, before the monthly test, we just stopped with discussing about producer's equilibrium. That is how to arrive at producer's equilibrium using the diagram. We just finished that particular topic, and today we shall discuss about the production function. One of the production functions, a very popular production function given by two economists, one called as Cobb and the other person called as Douglas. So this Charles Cobb and Paul Douglas. See this Cobb-Douglas production function. It is a standard equation where it is applied to find out by the manufacturing industries and for comparing one industry with the other industry using an empirical study. Empirical study means an outcome or a result which has been arrived at after proper experimentation. When people have done so much of experimentation by analyzing that if you pull this much of input into the production process, this is the total value of output that you arrive at. So based on this empirical study, empirical because on and often you will come across this word empirical, which means a study or an outcome or a result which is arrived at after an experimentation. Please have all these small terminologies in your mind because the chapter itself, okay, in future we'll be using these terminologies to understand certain concepts. So empirical means what? Something which is based on experiments, that is anubhava purvamana. So based on experimental studies which has been made in manufacturing industries and in comparing one industry from the other industries, they were able to analyze and bring out an equation called as Cobb-Douglas production function. Since this production function was popularized by these two economists, Charles Cobb and Paul Douglas, this production function has taken up their name itself. They are American economists. The study was conducted in American manufacturing industries, and here they have taken only labor and capital for studying, and this analysis was very well used by modern and developed countries, and very stable nations also applied this Cobb-Douglas production function. Now let us understand what is the formula. We don't have any in-depth, we are not dealing anything in-depth about this production function. We'll be learning only the formula and the few factors which are based on these formulas. The expression goes like this: Q is equal to A L power alpha K power beta. Now Q represents the output. So to produce Q amount of output, okay, A is a positive value, positive constant, that is any number. L refers to labor and alpha refers to a positive integer, which means, okay, the number of times the labor is getting repeated. The power, the exponential alpha, it refers to the number of times a labor is getting repeated, and K refers to capital, and the power beta refers to the number of times the capital is getting circulated. Okay, so when we utilize this formula, when we use this expression, we arrive at a function called as production function. Now this production function, the value of alpha and beta, when you sum up the values, it should be equal to 1, which means the production function is based on a constant returns to scale. And the intensity can be measured, okay, the rate at which the production function is there, you can measure by the ratio of beta divided by alpha. Beta is nothing but capital coefficient. Coefficient means what? The power, the number of times the capital is circulated. Alpha refers to the power of labor. Power here means the exponential form of labor. So the number of times the labor is getting repeated. So to find the ratio, the intensity of the factors, you can measure it by dividing beta divided by alpha. The sum of alpha and beta returns, it shows whether the production function is at an increasing returns or at a decreasing returns or at a constant return. That is, for the amount of money that you have invested on labor and capital, is your returns increasing? Okay, now how to arrive at this concept is, when you sum up alpha plus beta, if you get 1, it means that you get a constant returns. Okay, for the amount of labor and capital that you are increasing or introducing into the production process, you are getting a constant returns. When you increase the labor by 1, the output is also increasing by 1. That is what it means, constant returns you get. Next is when alpha plus beta, the summation of alpha plus beta is less than 1. In that case, it is called as diminishing returns to scale, which means for the amount of labor and capital that is being invested, or the addition of capital and labor that is being invested, your returns means what? The amount of output that you get is lesser. Okay, so it is called as diminishing returns to scale. Next is when you find alpha plus beta greater than 1, when the value is greater than 1, in such a situation, it means increasing returns to scale. For the amount of input and capital that is being invested, you get a better returns. Okay, this is what is implied by this formula. It is very simple, children. It might come in objectives. Okay, either in the match the following or in the true or false. It can come very simple to understand also. It is not a book back question. Next is the production function. It explains when there is an increase in the factors, a proportionate increase in the factor, there is a proportionate increase in the output also. This is one aspect. Next is Cobb-Douglas production function normally implies constant returns to scale. That is, when alpha plus beta, the value will always be equal to 1. He takes this constant returns into consideration and works on it. Next is only 2 factors are considered, that is labor and capital is only considered. And Cobb-Douglas production function, it is a standard equation. It can be applied to describe how much of labor could be input, how much of capital could be input, could be done as input, and for this much input, what could be the output, relevant output. So this is purely based on empirical studies only, and it has been applied by many of the developed nations, modern states, and even states which have a stable growth also. Next is capital and labor. The production takes place only when both the factors are employed, only production can be done. That is also one of the aspects. Next is when we take labor and capital, out of labor and capital, 3/4 of that value is contributed by labor. Okay, in the production process, 3/4 will be labor and the remaining 1/4 will be capital. The last one is the elasticity of substitution. That is, one factor can be substituted for the other factor. The value is equal to 1. That's all. So this is with production function. Quite an easy concept only this is. And it is a 3-mark answer. Next, let us go to law of supply. In the second chapter, we learnt about law of demand. Here we will be learning about law of supply. Second chapter is about consumption analysis. You have to understand from the point of view of a consumer. When we learn law of supply, we need to put ourselves as a producer, that is manufacturer. Okay. Now this law of supply, it is associated with production analysis. So now you understand from the point of view of a producer, or think you are a manufacturer or a businessman. Now this law of supply, it establishes a positive relationship between price and supply. When price of the commodity is increasing, here they have given an example of cloth. When the price of cloth increases, as a manufacturer, what will you do? Price is increasing, so immediately you will think of bringing more supply into the market. You will think that we need to, you as a producer, what will be your intention? Rational producer. We will, since the prices are increasing, we will try to bring more units of supply into the market. So automatically, what is the reason? When more units of supply is brought into the market, automatically the sale will increase. When sale increases, profit also increases for the producer, because all the producers will aim at what? Profit maximization. So supply and price both are directly related to each other. When price increases, supply also increases. So what can you say here? The relationship, a direct relationship, otherwise a positive relationship exists between price and supply. Now, this is what is given in this box. Definition for law of demand, law of supply. Other things remaining the same, if the price of the commodity increases, its quantity supplied increases, as what I told you. And if price of a commodity decreases, quantity supplied also decreases. On the other hand, if the price of commodities falls down, if the price of cloth falls down, what will you do? Will you try to bring in more units of supply into the market? We will not do, because with lower prices I will sustain loss. As a producer, I will sustain loss if I bring more units of commodities into the market. But as a buyer, when the price is low, I will wish to buy more units of commodities. Am I right? So as a supplier, okay, when the price reduces, the supply of goods also reduces. Supply function. So now the supply function can be understood as a relationship between few factors and supply. The quantity supplied depends upon few factors. Okay, so it could be understood as a functional relationship between few factors. What are those factors? The supply of commodity depends upon the factors like price of the commodity, price of labor, and price of capital, state of technology, the number of firms, price of related goods. We shall see each topic in the next topic, like factors determining the supply. Now when you see, the supply function can be expressed as QS. QS is nothing but quantity supply. It depends upon the factors. What are the factors? Price of the commodity, price of related goods. See, for example, the price of coffee increases. Okay, what will happen? The supply of tea will increase, because people will start moving from coffee to, they will move to tea. So the price of related goods also determines the supply of the commodity. Next is price of factors of production. Okay, I shall explain you in 2 minutes now. Technology will decide the supply. The objectives of the producer will also decide the supply, and the expected price of the commodity also will decide the supply. It is a 3-mark question. Okay, you need to write the function and what Px represents, what Pr represents. Now supply function is also based on certain assumptions, like how any law will hold good only under certain conditions. The supply function is based on the following conditions, that is, there will be no change in the price of the factors of production. The labor cost will be the same when you produce 1 unit. The labor cost will be the same when you produce the 100th unit also. And there is no change in the price of capital also. Next is natural resources, and their availability also remains. Always you have ready stock of raw materials to immediately increase the supply of commodities. Price of substitutes also remains constant. See, I told you the example of tea and coffee is it? The price of coffee and tea will also, if I am taking coffee as an example for studying law of supply, the price of tea should remain the same only. Next is there is no change in technology. Climate also remains the same. The law of supply could be studied only under the same climatic condition. Political conditions should not change, and there is no change in the taxation policy also, because tax policies will definitely have an impact on the supply and demand of a commodity. So these are the assumptions which remains constant. Under such situation only the law of supply will hold good. Next is explanation. The law of supply. What is the main determinant of supply? Price is the main determinant of supply. Other than price, there are other factors which we saw. Now, supply function can be expressed as F of P. That is, it is a function of price. Now, the schedule. The supply schedule is nothing but a table which shows when this is the price, this is the quantity supply. There is an assumed hypothetical table which shows the price and supply relationship. When the price of the commodity is 1, you are ready to supply 20 units of output commodities. You can take anything. When price is 2, you are bringing 40 units of supply into the market. When price increases, when the price is 5, you are ready to supply 100 units, because what will happen when price increases, when quantity supplied also increases, automatically my sales volume increases. My total that is turnover will increase. As a result, my profit also increases. So when you observe these two, the relationship between price and supply, when one increases, the other is also increasing. So you say that both are positively related to each other. With this schedule, with the above schedule, you can construct a curve also, supply curve, by taking in the x-axis we need to take the quantity supplied, that is commodity X that is supplied. In the y-axis you have to take the price. Plot the points here. Okay, when the price is 1, 20 units is supplied. So mark at A. When price is 2, 40 units, B. See, like that when you mark, when you plot the points, you get A, B, C, D, E. When you join those points, you get an upward sloping line, which means that whenever two variables have direct relationship or positively related to each other, then the slope will be always an upward sloping curve. Okay, the slope of the curve will be how? It will float upwards only. It will have an upward sloping. That is what is explained here, which means when one increases, the other increases. When one decreases, the other decreases. So this is what is supply curve, and mark it as S. The next is, I told you the factors determining supply. I told you that when teaching the function, a supply function F is equal to Px, Pr, Pt. No? Now we shall discuss everything in detail now. What are the factors which determines the supply? First factor is price. Price of the commodity is the first determinant of supply. When price is large, supply will be high only, because it will motivate the producer to sell more units of commodity. So first factor determining supply is price of the commodity. The next factor, price of other commodities. See, for example, if price of cotton is increasing, definitely the supply of other commodities, like for example, if price of cotton is increasing, if you are a producer, you will utilize more of your land, labor, capital for producing more of cotton. So automatically what will happen? The supply of other commodities, like which requires agricultural dependency is there, means the supply of other commodities like paddy or cereals will automatically drop down, because the capital and land is now being utilized more for producing cloth. So the price of other commodities also will decide the supply of one commodity. Now the price of cotton has decided the supply of rice here. Can you understand? Because more labor and capital has been utilized for producing cotton, because the price of cotton is increasing. Now what happened? It has affected the supply of paddy here. So when price of one commodity increases, it affects the supply of other commodity. Next is price of factors. What are the inputs? Land, labor, capital are the factors of production. When labor price is increasing, it is a small assumption to understand. When the labor cost is increasing, when the labor price is increasing, automatically cost of production will increase. When cost of production increases, it will affect the supply of commodity. Next is price expectation. Suppose, for example, in future, the price of the commodity is likely to increase. It is anticipated that in future, these commodities might increase. In such a situation, the producer will retain the products. He will not supply it presently. He will not bring the products to the market now. He will wait for the prices to increase. Then he will supply the commodity. What will happen when he supplies now? He will be getting only less amount of profit. Whereas when he is holding the commodities now and when he is supplying the goods, when the prices are increasing, automatically his profit margin will increase. So expected price is also one of the determinant of supply. Next is technology. With advancement in technology, what will happen? Why technology is being used? To produce more goods and services at lesser cost. So to reduce the cost and to produce more units only, technology is being used. So automatically when technology is used, the supply of goods also increases. Very simple. When manually a certain commodity is produced, you can produce only less units of commodity. The same thing when machine is used, you can produce more units of commodity. Next is natural factors. Particularly in agriculture, the natural factors like monsoon, climate, plays a very important role in determining the supply. Whenever there is a flood, or a seasonal change, automatically the supply of goods will be affected. The production is getting affected and the supply of goods also gets affected. See, when there is a heavy flood, many of the plantain trees falls down. okay, automatically the production of plantains drops down. Very simple example. Next is discovery of new raw materials. Suppose, for example, all these years, certain commodity has been produced using some raw material. If the raw material is getting short, we are unable to get a new raw material. So what will we do? We just start discovering new raw material. That was how plastic came into existence. See, before the coming of the plastic, more of bottles were used, glasswares were only used, and mudwares were only used. Now, after the invention of plastic, which is a very cheap raw material, the usage of glasswares and mudwares totally stopped. And we just moved into the new raw material, cheap raw material called plastic. See, to produce a plastic bottle, it is enough if you have a lead shot level of plastic. Okay, if the raw material needed to produce one plastic bottle, no, it is enough if you have a very small, you know what is a lead shot, that much size of plastic is enough to produce one bottle. Just imagine how cheaper is production of plastic goods. So that is the reason more of plastic commodities have increased. So the increase in supply of products depends upon the cheap availability of raw materials. Next is taxes and subsidies. Subsidies for inputs, for subsidies will be given for credit and for power generation, subsidies will be given. Subsidies are mainly given to subsidies means what? Salugaigal. Okay, the government gives subsidies to promote certain industries. When subsidies are given, automatically producers will be encouraged to produce more units of commodity. When these subsidies are withdrawn, automatically production will be affected. Supply also will be affected. Likewise, the impact of taxes, both direct tax and indirect tax, will definitely have an effect or impact on the supply of goods and services. Many a times we might have, see, 4 years before 17, GST was introduced, you said, it is an indirect tax. Because of the imposition of the goods and services tax, the production was very badly hit in many of the sectors. Automatically, the supply also was disturbed. So, the imposition of direct or indirect tax will definitely affect the supply of goods and services. Next is objective of the firm. What is the main goal of the firm? See, there are certain businessmen whose main goal will be to see that the supply of the goods is on the higher side. That is, they wanted to produce more goods and services by applying technology with less cost of production. When cost of production is less, automatically price of the product also will be priced less only. Thereby, people will buy more. This is a strategy used by many of the businessmen. So, automatically supply will be huge also. This will be their main motive itself, main goal itself. A very clear example is the Saravana Stores example. They produce goods at a low cost of production. As a result, they see that they bring huge amount of supply into the market also. Thereby, they attract more number of people. So, their objective is what? To produce more units at a lesser cost. So, the objective of the firm is to produce more, they will produce more. So, these are the factors which determine the supply of commodities. The next topic is elasticity of demand. Sorry children, the screen went some. Now, let us see what is elasticity of supply. We saw what is elasticity of demand, ED greater than 1, ED the same concept only. Okay, when there is a change in price, what is the resultant change in the quantity supplied? That's all. The ratio of change in quantity supplied divided by the ratio of change in price. Very simple explanation. Okay, you need not confuse yourself. Whatever is the elasticity of demand, the same will be the elasticity of supply formula also. Only thing is, for demand you will have a minus symbol. Okay, for because they are inversely related to each other, whereas for elasticity supply they are positively related to each other. The definition is the degree of responsiveness of change in supply to change in price on the part of the seller. When there is a change in price, what is the responsive change in the supply? This relationship, this ratio, you call it as elasticity of supply. You have the formula also, where QS represents supply, P represents price, delta represents change in the letter change. When you learn the types of elasticity of supply, like how we learnt under the degrees of elasticity of demand, likewise we have relatively elastic supply, okay, relatively inelastic supply. Let us learn one after the other. See the first diagram where it is greater than 1, ES greater than 1. Just look at this diagram. When you look at this diagram, you could understand in x-axis supply is taken, y-axis price is taken as usual. A small change in price, that is when price increases from A to C, there is a big change in the quantity supplied. Okay, so BD divided by CA, if the value is greater than 1, you call it as relatively elastic. Okay, when there is, for a small change in price, there is a big change in quantity supply. See, for example, let me assume the change in price to be always 1. Okay, so when the change in price is 1, there is more than one change in the supply. Let me take 2. So 2 divided by 1 is greater than 1. So this is the elasticity, relatively elastic supply. The next is equal to 1. As usual, let me take the change in price to be 1. Look at the diagram here. With the change in price from A to C is 1. You could see the same change in the quantity supply. From B to D it is also 1. So, BD divided by CA, that is 1 divided by 1, it is 1. So, the nature of the curve will be like this. Okay. So, when the value of elasticity is equal to 1, that is when there is 1% increase in the price, there is 1% increase in the supply, then the value of elasticity is equal to 1. Next is lesser than 1, that is relatively inelastic. There is elasticity, but it is relatively less. That is what it means. So, see, when you see here, the change in the price is more than 1. See, for 1, it was a small distance. The change in price, let me assume to be 2. The change in quantity supplied is 1. That is 1 divided by 2. What is the value? It is less than 1. 1 by 2 is always less than 1. So, when the value is lesser than 1, then the supply of elasticity is said to be relatively inelastic. So, the nature of the curve will be like this. The next is where the elasticity of supply is equal to 0, which you call it as perfectly inelastic. There is no elasticity at all. That is what it means. When there is a change in price, let me assume the change in price is 2. What is the change in quantity demanded? No change in quantity demanded. So, numerator you have change in quantity demanded. What is the change in quantity demanded? 0. Denominator you have change in price. What is the change in price? 2. 0 divided by 2 is what? 0. So, when the value of elasticity is equal to 0, then you call it as perfectly inelastic supply. If you want, you can write it in your textbook so that it will be easy for you to learn that particular concept. Because all these will be asked in objectives, the diagram will be given and you will be asked to write what type of elasticity. The diagram will be given, you will be asked to write the value of elasticity. So, it could be asked in that way. Now, the last type of elasticity, that is perfectly elastic. Okay, elasticity is to the infinite level. Now, look at the diagram here. There is no change in price, but still there is change in the quantity supply. Change in price is what? 0. Change in quantity supplied is what? More than 1. So, numerator you have change in supply. Let me take it as 2. What is the change in price? 0. 2 divided by 0 is what? Infinity. Any number divided by 0 is what? Infinity. So, the value of elasticity of supply is equal to infinity means then you call it as perfectly elastic supply. That is all, children. Now, let us come to the topic. What are the factors which determine the elasticity? Factors governing the elasticity of supply. See, for this type of commodity, this will be the elasticity. It will be greater, lesser, or more or less. That is how we understand. See, for example, for durable goods. For durable goods are goods which last for a longer period of time. For durable goods, definitely the elasticity will be very high. Please underline for durable goods because they can be stored for a long period of time. So, producers can wait till the price increase, then he can bring the supply of goods and services to the market. So, for durable goods, the elasticity will be very high only. On the other hand, for perishable goods, okay, he has to bring the supply to the market, whatever might be the price. Whether the price is high or low, he cannot retain the commodity. So, for perishable goods, the elasticity of supply will be low. Underline, children, perishable goods, low elasticity. Durable goods, high elasticity. Only then it will be easy for you to learn. Next is cost of production. When the cost of production is subject to, we learnt Cobb-Douglas production function, is it? When we have constant returns or increasing returns to scale. Okay, when the production is undergoing constant returns or increasing returns, the elasticity of supply will be greater. Okay, which means their returns are on the higher side. They can produce more goods and services. Okay, so in that case, the elasticity will be greater than 1. Whereas, when that is diminishing returns, for the amount of input you are utilizing, putting into the production process, you are getting less returns. In such a case, the elasticity of supply will be less only. You will not be ready to bring more supply when your returns are very low. So, as a result, the supply will be less only. When returns are low, supply is also low. So, the elasticity is less. Next is technical condition. In large scale production, where huge capital is involved, supply you cannot automatically adjust. Just imagine when heavy machines are utilized to produce goods and services. All of a sudden you cannot change the total system and alter the supply. Okay, immediately you wanted only less units of output, means you cannot just make to run the machines to produce less units of commodity. That machines and technology is designed to produce huge units of commodity. So, when capital technology is on the higher side, the elasticity of supply is less. For example, when the technology use is very simple, okay, you just make few alterations in the machine, thereby reduce the output, means then the elasticity is more in such case. So, when technology is simple to handle, okay, you can alter the supply easily. So, in such a case, the elasticity of supply is greater or more. Next is time factor. Time factor, when you have very short period to increase the supply, all of a sudden you cannot increase the supply of goods and services. So, elasticity will be very low. Now, the second time factor is short period. There are 3 time factors. One you call it as very short period, the other you call it as short period, the third one you call it as long period. These are the 3 time factors which determines the supply. We are not going to deal anything in depth. I am just telling you what are the 3 time factors: very short period, long period. If it is very short period, see, all of a sudden you have to increase the supply in 1 hour. It is not possible. So, elasticity is very low. See here, there is a small the correction you have to make, children, in this page number 73. During very short period, when supply cannot be adjusted, elasticity of demand is given. Cut the demand and write as supply. Elasticity of demand is given. There is a typing error. Okay, it is wrong. It should be elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply is very low. I want everyone to make this change and show it to me. Okay. In short period, the second time element is short period. During the short period, you have a little time to alter the supply. So, the elasticity will be adjusted. It will be more now. Okay. During the short period, elasticity is more. During the long period, which means you have enough time to alter the technology, bring capital, introduce more labor. So, what will happen to the supply? Supply can be increased to a greater extent. So, the elasticity will be high only. So, during very short period, elasticity is very low. During short period, it is more. During long period, it is highly elastic. So, with this is factors of governing elasticity of supply. It is a 3-mark question. That is why I am just asking you to change this mistake. Okay. Do change it and please do inform me that you have changed. Only then I will understand that you have gone through the video carefully. That is all, children. Now, for the homework, I want you to write Cobb-Douglas production function 29. That is factors governing elasticity of supply 29, 31, 34. 29, 31, 34. That is factors governing. Let me tell you, seeing the book itself. That is factors governing elasticity of supply, 29. State and explain elasticity of supply, 31. Cobb-Douglas production function, 34. That's all. Have a good day, children. Bye-bye.